Hi, folks. Robert Quigley here, Washington, D.C., the Money Pit Group. Today, we're going to talk about a critically corrosive problem facing America's political environment. What problem am I talking about? We're talking about politicians' families profiting from a family member's public officeship, aka nothing but total corruption. So let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. We'll talk about law reform and we'll talk about the conclusion. This problem is not confined to any one political party. Both the Republicans are guilty, both the Democrats are guilty. And I'm going to pull up a couple of examples here today to highlight the point. Let's start with Republicans, for no other reason than the fact that the notes are on my left-hand side. Jared Kushner, as everybody knows, son-in-law of ex-President Donald Trump, got a $2 billion check from the Saudis for his Wall Street investment firm. Sounds so cool on the surface, but let's look a little bit at the facts because it really is unbelievable. Jared Kushner is not a Wall Street guy. Jared Kushner, by all accounts, should not be anywhere near Wall Street. The group of Saudis, the professionals that are responsible for determining where they put their National Investment Fund money, they looked at Jared Kushner and his firm, and they came up with a handful of notes and recommendations for their fund. And let me read through the recommendations for you. I'm going to summarize because it's just unbelievable. They said no one in their right mind would give the former first son-in-law a dime. He has zero management experience in the investment world. Investing in him was nothing but excessive, intolerable risk. His office and investment operations were totally unsatisfactory in all aspects. Their conclusion: stay as far away from Jared Kushner as one could possibly be. So basically, folks, we have a family member of Donald Trump who knows absolutely nothing about Wall Street, and yet he winds up with a $2 billion check and a $25 million upfront fee when this person, by all accounts, should be nowhere near Wall Street. How did Jared Kushner get that money? Well, if he wasn't related to Donald Trump, clearly the Saudis would not have given him a dime because the folks responsible for their investment fund said that he should not get a dime. He got it because of political deal making between Donald Trump, political favors from Donald Trump to the Saudis in the Middle East. That's how he got the $2 billion. There's a problem with that, a very serious problem. I'll come to the law reform in a minute, but as we can clearly see, the Republicans here, and as you're going to see the Democrats coming up in my next example, the politicians themselves cannot obviously go out and sell their office. They would just be impeached and locked up. But the way these politicians in the Democratic Party and Republican Party have structured the system is it's quite okay for their family members to go out and sell access to that officeship. That's what we're going to change as independents once we get to the White House. Okay, let's look at the Democratic side. Hunter Biden and his famous laptop. Now, this is just as laughable. Hunter Biden got roughly $11 million from the Chinese over a course of 5 or 6 years for so-called business deals. As we all know, Hunter Biden is the son of President Biden. Except, by all accounts, Hunter Biden should be nowhere near the world of business. He is a practicing drug addict. He has tried over the years to cure himself, but by all accounts, he is still a drug addict. So he got these $11 million from the Chinese. He went off on a $200,000 per month spending habit. The few deals that he was working on never even got started. Number one, they were underfunded. Number two, he had no experience, relevant experience in these matters. And he was given that money because, of course, he was the son of Biden, the senator, Biden, the vice president, and then finally Biden, the president. So what did he spend that $200,000 per month on, mind you? Well, luxury hotels, Porsche payments, dental work, and cash withdrawals. Okay, guys, think about this for a moment. A married man spending lots of money on luxury hotels with massive cash withdrawals. So when you've got that much money, you tend to buy stuff with your piece of plastic, debit card or credit card, because you don't want to carry around a lot of cash. It's safer not to carry around a lot of cash. So what we see here in a nutshell is the huge amount of cash withdrawals and cash expenditures combined with the luxury hotel rooms, of course, is nothing but prostitution and drugs. And I'm not going to condemn prostitution. I'm very liberal on this point. One of these days, I want to make a video about it. Uh, there are lots of reasons for and against, and to be sympathetic and empathetic for that particular crowd. But the drugs is obviously the thing that needs to be come down on hard, and this is essentially what Hunter Biden is. He's a drug addict, and that's where the money went. But he got the money because of his relationship to his dad. Now, in both of these cases, we see people selling their relative's authorship or access to that authorship or the perceived access to that authorship. This we're going to come to the law reform in a minute, but this is pure and simple corruption of American politics. Our forefathers would turn over in their graves if I were to walk over to their gravesite and tell them these facts. But let's take another example, because this is one that's really blown my mind for years. Take Clinton. President Clinton. President Clinton spent essentially his entire professional life as a government civil service servant. Yes, he was a governor of Arkansas. Yes, he was a president of the United States. But at the end of the story, he wound up with a net worth of more than $100 million. And where did this $100 million come from? Well, it certainly didn't come from the president's salary, which was like $200,000 a year when he was there. It didn't come from the salaries of the governor of Arkansas. I think, if I remember correctly, I'm sure someone can look it up, but I think it was around $60,000 a year. It might have been 50, 60,000, 69,000 a year, something like that. You certainly don't get to $100 million in net worth with those types of salaries, but yet he did it from so-called speaking fees. Well, during his administration as president, he passed laws which were very favorable to Wall Street, which was very favorable to lenders, and essentially screwed the American public. And as a reward, they paid him millions upon millions of dollars to go to some fancy hotel room or conference room someplace and speak to Wall Street. And they gave him $100 million. Without going into too much detail, we'll just say that's the word on the street. So what we have here are three examples of offices being sold. And this is a serious problem. One, if your goal in life is to build wealth, you should obviously go into business because that's a legitimate way to build wealth. Or go learn Wall Street, and that's a legitimate way to build wealth. And what I'm saying here is I'm saying we have to draw a distinction. If you're not in office and you are trying to get into political office, doesn't matter what level it is, city, county, state, federal government, by all means, do whatever you can to make as much money as you can. But once you are in an elected position, let's say president, governor, Senate, House of Representatives, etc., you've got to curtail that. You have to say to your family members, no, you cannot sell access. I am foregoing my wealth building opportunities other than investing in your retirement account, your buy and hold investments, and you're off to you're putting the money aside for retirement. That's fine. But that's not what we have here. What we have here is selling the office through family members or getting rewarded after the fact for passing favorable laws for various groups in society. By the way, this has been going on for the history of the country. And this is a big problem that we're facing in the American legal system today. If we go back to one of my first videos, you'll remember me talking about the need to dismantle huge numbers of protected monopolies across the country because they're not helping the society at all. They're causing more harm than good. But narrowly here, we have to address the problem of the relatives of politicians selling access to their office. So here's law reform. When I get to the White House, as you all know, I'm building an independence party and I'm on the road to the White House. And when we get there, we're going to pass a law which absolutely forbids family members from selling officeship and access to officeship. They can trade on Wall Street, long-term investors, that's no problem, buy and hold till retirement type of thing. But if we catch them selling access and trading on that officeship, it's going to be illegal, it's going to be a felony, it's going to be 5 years in jail. And when we find people who are trading on this access to officeship, we're going to build a presumption in the law that the profiteering was illegal, and we're going to put the burden of proof on that family member who is profiting from that access. And if they can't prove that it's a real substantive, valuable deal on its merits, that would fly, whether or not their family member was holding a public office. If they can't prove that, then we're going to strip them of the money they received, and we're going to put it in the coffers of a watchdog who's going to be charged, a neutral third party who will be charged with investigating the dealings of the family members and of the elected officials, so we can stop this problem in its tracks. This is why America's legal system is so fucked up. This is why we have folks that feel like they can't get ahead in the system, because the system is stacked against a lot of us in a lot of different areas, and this needs to stop. So in conclusion, folks, it's very simple. If you're coming to office to enrich yourself, you're in the wrong place. You need to go elsewhere. We need problem solvers. This is the only thing that's going to save America. This is the only thing that's going to save the globe. We need to get rid of politics as usual. There's so many ways to make money in society. Politics is not one of them. So with that, folks, subscribe to the channel, add your comments below, join the conversation. As you know, I'm on the road to the White House. We can surely need your help. Till we meet again.